Fresh spate of military coups in Africa is already sending some shockwaves, and in this podcast I want us to look at the military reshuffles. What does that point out? And in the African and in our Kenyan context, what William Ruto must do as alternative to the military reshuffles. Welcome to the Bold Analysis, and my name is Kevin Oduor. I think it's been a while since I mentioned my name. Someone's reminding me that, no, you guys, you've never told us your name. Now, there is this interesting story. I want us to look at these two instances first. The military coups have been happening in West Africa, and that is Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and then it also came to Central Africa, Gabon. Now, as we speak, one of the most critical aspects, observations that we've been making from those coups is that not legitimately, they normally happen immediately after an election. Number one. Number two, there is also seemed to be some protest against the France invasion in some of those countries. Now, in East Africa, the military coup scare has also gotten its way in East Africa. Let's get to Rwanda. In Rwanda, Paul Kagame has retired 83 generals, and they have also been replaced by others. And insecure, people that have insecurity of tenure, presidents or leaders with insecurity of tenure, are now opting to reshuffle the military ranks so that they can boost the loyalty threshold in the military. Of course, as someone said, political analyst said that military coups are very infectious and very contagious. It's something that spreads like bushfire. And while the Rwandan context is a little bit different, despite the fact that Paul Kagame has been in power for long, but of course, when you speak to Rwandese nationals, even in this country, they seem to point out the fact that the country has enjoyed political stability since the 1984, the Tutsi War. And also there's some remarkable development. They've made some important, some great milestone in development that can be attached to his role. In Cameroon, Paul Biya, who has been in power for the last 42 years, has also reshuffled his military ranks, and some have been retired. Looking into this now, was something interesting about Cameroon. I like this because Paul Biya came to power after a coup, and that coup was allegedly supported by France by then. And people have been talking about the double standard by the French, because when a coup happened in Cameroon that placed Paul Biya in power, they supported that coup. But they said coup in Niger and Gabon have received condemnation from France. Now that's not it. Let's come to the Kenyan context. In Kenya, since William Ruto came to power, there have been changes. The military ranks, of course, personnel. There is mobility of personnel for obvious reasons. Some are taken for other external missions, some are retired, some are also maybe dying, and some are also retrenchment. People leave for different reasons. And there have been that recently change of different military ranks, even the CDF, of course, with the others that have been happening. But that has pointed out to the fact that the presidents in Africa are really putting a very close eye on their respective militaries, because the continent, the population is jubilating when military is taking over. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our video. I'll make this podcast a little bit very brief. I want to say that they're different. If you look at our space, if you look at our the country Kenya space, when we were appointing CDF, one of the discussions and one of the factors that was raised, of course, we were obeying the Tonje rules that alternates the CDF positions amongst the three ranks: the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. And so that's how Ogola had to get his way. But there were other questions, underlying issues of loyalty, tribal alienation. There were other issues that were brought on table. But then I want to look at it differently. African presidents are scrutinizing their military ranks. And even including William Ruto, he's trying to put his best foot forward to get those who are closest loyalists to him. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at our political ecosystem, it's a little bit different, because I think our constitution has given us good transition mechanism on which president has to serve for 10 years, then you have to leave. But we've also seen a different approach where our election have had the hand of the foreigners. And this matter has been very emotive, by the way. Even those who support the regime and those who support agree that foreign infiltration in our election process is something that is not welcomed. There is a photo that is now coming. I think I saw it. My MP. Of course, it will be propaganda, but it has not been confirmed. That official results, the server in Gabon has been opened, and probably Omar Bongo had lost against the opposition leader by then. And that photo has been going on saying that, and that's why Chebukati is trending. By the way, if you check Twitter, that's why Chebukati is trending, for that reason. William Ruto to stabilize the country, and then it brings us the question, what can William Ruto do to stabilize the country away from what is seen as the military reshuffles? What is the alternative? Our country, Kenya, we are normally blessed. We complain, we talk about, we profile other leaders in terms of what we think is right or wrong. But we have one thing in common, that we have leaders that are very accommodative. I've been saying, if Raila Odinga would be a radical, then this country will have gone down. Even when stopping this action, if Raila Odinga would be that radical, then this country will have gone down. But we've always had a statesman, we've always had an elder. Even when the mass action is called, he stays with the remote. And he will call it off, even against the wish of those around him. President Ruto. There's that which we must look at this. To stabilize this country is you must meet the expectation of the masses. The only coup that can happen in Kenya is the sovereign coup. There's a difference. We may not do the Western coup, but the sovereign coup is here, especially at the ballot. And we know that it has always happened, but the sovereign coup where the people that can eject you from power is actually the masses. Simple. It's about you must match campaign pledges with government deliveries. It's that simple. And I want to tie it up with the second bit on it. If masses does a coup, but with blatant support of Europe, is not checked, then it can destabilize the country. for the first time, we've had an election that the dominant factor is that our system was infiltrated by the foreigners. Now, infiltration by the foreigners, that narrative, or rather that perception coming, has always eroded the democratic principles, or rather it has eroded trust in our democratic processes. Now, it is out of that we can get out of our way. Because if someone would wake up and there is a perception that I will wake up and vote to do a coup, a coup where I wake up in the morning to do a coup to change leadership, but there is another kernel of people sitting somewhere that are maintaining status quo, then that is what this can destabilize. Number 3, I want to be very categorical on this matter. I have listened to William Ruto's latest approach on what is termed as dismantling cartels. I will look at this exclusively in another podcast. And there are 3 options. 1, you go to jail, leave Kenya, or go to heaven. Of course, I've seen Dennis Itumbi twisting it, saying that going to heaven will also mean you get saved, then go to heaven, not go to hell. Okay, in simple understanding, it means death. But that kind of approach, and we're in a country where we've also suffered extrajudicial executions. When the president seems to rule with an iron fist, yes, there is a bit of suppression. Look at what happened in the last protest, where police were unleashed, the security forces were unleashed in the population, and it was a bit of excessive force. When you rule with an iron fist, it reaches a point where the population mutate. They grow resilience. You can hit those who are protesting now and subdue and cause fear, and no one thinks about it. But when you subdue the population by an iron fist, and then they just persevere. But with time, people seem to grow resilience. And then people get out whether you're going to kill them or not. What am I saying? That I think the messaging, the combative approach in governance, and the way the president seems to be handling the whole issue about the cartels, we seem to behave as if we are suspending the constitution. Now, that is not a good place to be as a country. Lastly, this is something that Uhuru Kenyatta mentioned. And when Uhuru Kenyatta said the whole country was made to believe that Uhuru wanted to extend his power, we must address the winner takes all. And the winner takes all must be addressed in a manner. It must be addressed both in our lips and in our actions. The talks of we are stakeholders. The other day I listened to Rigathi Gachagua lecturing Wetangula and Davadi, telling them that what you want in this government, what you've been given is commensurate to what you brought on the table. And I was like, okay, is that how it should be ruled? This thing has been normalized to believe that when the guy says that those who brought more votes will get more positions. That's not how it should be. We seem to be creating some divisions. We are planting seeds of discord. And lastly, is this some unconstitutional breaches? The Constitution says 10 years, the president leaves. We've had underground discussions about term limit, increase the term limit here and there. Those talks are quite unfortunate. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also add into this. I know everyone is looking at military. Everyone is putting an eye into my military. Now, in Kenyan situation, it's not about the military. It's about the people. I wish there's some few lessons we grab from what's happening across the globe. Thank you.